Here we are with the next video, and this is going to be battery ventilation 2.0. So here's the old style here with no countertop. There's a fan in here. Watch the first video. I'm gonna leave it up. They just see the mistakes that I did, and hopefully you guys don't make them. So anyway, there's a fan in here that's plumbed into the propane tank storage compartment, and that little fan was designed to draw air out of the holes in the bottom of the PVC, bring the gases out and vent it out into that, which vents it out into atmosphere. But the main reason that I don't like it is there's two main reasons. The one is when you put that vent fan on right above your head here, it's gonna outcompete for this. It's just gonna pull it backwards. It'll stop that fan probably. And the other thing is all of the gases that don't get sucked up through here, which is liable to happen, you know, over the years, are slightly corrosive, and I don't want all of these electronics to get, all the bus bars and all that stuff, the inverter, everything to get corroded. The plan is to do rework. I hate rework, so I try to think things out. But you can't be perfect on everything. This is how you learn. So we're gonna remove everything that I did, put it in the scrap pile, and we are gonna figure out how to encase this battery bank and make a isolated box that's as sealed as possible without modifying how it's mounted. We got some very reasonably priced, aka free Lexan here. Alright. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Not really, just getting it cleared out. So we have the batteries here. The electrical is out of the way. So all of the wiring that I'm in the middle of doing still is now cleared. I just have the cables and I can work. We're gonna do a little test. We got some of the Lexan piece right here, battery acid, and we have a piece of the foam sealant that I plan to use. Alright, let her sit overnight. I'd say we're in good shape. Science experiment here, and both of the gasket materials that I used soaking in battery acid for like 4 days now, and we're in good shape. I call that passing the test right there. Not the safest way. Making do with what I got here. Got some rough sawn lumber. I don't know what it is. I don't think it's oak, but it's a hardwood because it's heavy. From this to this. Don't have a planer. Industrial pallet wood from machinery deliveries. Salvaged, baby, salvaged. That piece right there is 3.5 by 1. Getting somewhere. Mocking up the hood. Got the sides. Mocking everything up with paneling, which is a very similar thickness to the Lexan, so that we don't waste any material because it's precious. And I had to incorporate a step back there. That's the plan. Let's execute it. Right, Shermster? Okay. Using hanger bolts, I pre-drilled a hole here, and you just want to screw it in on the wood screw side of it, and then you have a machine screw on the other side, which you can use, you know, whatever you want. Making a jam nut scenario. Number 832 nut. Throw on another one. Don't overdo it because you'll strip the number 8. Spin that in there till she seats. right about there and back off. You might even break the, oh look at that, we even broke the top jam nut loose. There's your hanger bolt installed. Putting the weather stripping on the Lexan here. 1 inch wide, 5/16 thick. It's made by AP Products. I just do that over and over and over again. In the process here for the battery vent, pretty much 1/4 inch Lexan polycarbonate. Just utilize the battery hold down threaded rod. Put a sleeve, I call them, I don't know, a threaded sleeve. I forget what the exact term is. Added some more threaded rod and then got a 3/8 wing nut down onto the, this is like pretty much a 1 inch oak board there, 1 inch by 1 inch, just to give it some rigidity. Plus it's not cranked too hard. It's just to squish these gaskets down. Got the lid here for the battery vent, and the actual vent portion of it is going to be incorporated in this. MTS makes these, is the brand, MTS Products. This actually is a battery vent hose, and I'm just utilizing the flange from it and the hose. But this flange is going to get mounted on the inside and come up through. Diameter there is like, we'll call it 2.36, so let's just call it 2 3/8. She kicks. Nice. You got this scuffed up a little bit, just with some sandpaper. Clean it up with some alcohol. Seal that I've been using on the other portion of the battery vent. 5/16 wide, 1/4 inch thick for weather sealing in houses. There we go, I got that seal on there. So I got the holes drilled, and this is going to go up through. So here's the flange tightened down, and you can see that the seal is, you know, squished in there, nice compressed. I got 1032 nuts and bolts, stainless steel, and a washer. It's on there. Getting somewhere here, trying to get these hoses set up. The vent hood on there right now, and trying to figure out where to have the exhaust. Originally I was going to put it over there on the outside of the wall, just looking at, you know, where I can penetrate through the wall there. I mean, it's kind of, there's only so many spots because this wasn't in the plans originally. So looks like I'll be able to sneak it right here. And don't forget, there's a countertop over here, so this is going to be tight. You know, this is all, I only have to go under the counter. So it looks like I'm going to be able to grab right there, and it'll be the same style flange right here, and then the hose will just go from here up and just go in right there. That's a short one there. That'll be nice. Hopefully it'll fit. Let's see. So here's the back side of where you were just looking. Here is the vent hood. You're in the window, and it's going to go out right here. That area, there's this spot right here, which is literally the perfect width for this flange to fit. Added 2 pieces cut off from a 2x4 to where it's going to go there, and then slides right in. There's your mounting holes, and this gets mounted just like that, and there you go. I just used construction adhesive, the Loctite brand that I used to assemble all the other stuff. The PL Loctite right there. This stuff works really well. It expands a little bit after it dries. It has a little bit of an expansion property, but then it's really hard. It's good stuff. We are working on coating the oak boards that are going to be exposed to slight acid, or the fumes. So instead of using epoxy paint would be nice, but it's not easily accessible. So I bought this JB Weld large version of epoxy. It's 2-part epoxy, just like the stuff in the syringes. There's your 2 parts. Mix it up with one hand, because that's easy. So we got a piece of a sponge. Oh, and by the way, we're in front of the heater, so this stuff is like, it acts like honey, the consistency. So the warmer you get it, the thinner it is, which we just want a thin coat, and it's getting a nice gloss on it. It's working much better than I thought. I've never done this before. We'll see how it is. I know it's gonna work. How about that? I don't know if it's gonna hold up the acid, but it's gonna hold up the acid better than nothing. Some tips and tricks when you're mixing the epoxy. Make sure you mix it in small batches like you saw there so that it doesn't set. Also, make sure you mix it well, because if it's not mixed well, it will not cure at the end. And also, when using rubber nitrile gloves like this, it seemed to have a chemical reaction and really started heating up the gloves. So to prevent spontaneous combustion, we just took off the glove and burned it in the burn barrel. Like a baby? Like a little baby. They don't like it. Why don't they like it? You wonder, huh? Most of this is dried. There you go. There's your glossiness, huh? All right. This is the intake, I'm gonna call it, from the ground and the wing wall, goes up into this plumbing and then goes over into the bulkhead, which then goes into the side of the actual vent hood. This is what I came up with. I took a Fernco fitting here, which is a 1.5 inch in this case. This is a 50mm computer fan that I had in the previous battery vent version 1.0. Slide that in there. I got it cut so that the tops come out. And then I'll just run a bead of silicone around the holes here to fill in the gaps. Because of battery vent version 1.0, I cut a big old honking hole out of here. We gotta fix that. So that's the back cover of a battery tester like this that flipped its lid, and save that for a rainy day, and today's the rainy day. Actually, it's a snowy day! Look at that! Keep swimming. Filling in this hole in, I got the nutserts, threaded insert. You saw this on previous video. There you go. Got it nice and painted. In case you were wondering, that's the top. Took me like a minute or two to figure out what orientation for the holes to line up. So we got to put this weather stripping in here. There you go. Doesn't look like it used to, but it's sealed. So here is the completed battery vent hood, and it starts outside. So here is the vertical wing wall, and then there is the horizontal wing wall, and there is the vent for the intake that will eventually have aluminum siding over it for the intake louver. Now from the vent outside is right under this area here. So then I have it coming up through these Fernco fittings. Here's the PVC, and then here is the fan that I showed earlier with the silicone on it, which is wired in. Then it goes into this bulkhead, which then brings it inside of the hood. And it'll travel through the battery area here. And then it'll get brought up through this tubing here. This flange through the tubing and then out of the louver on the outside. And then here's the louver that it will exhaust out. So here's the top view of the battery vent hood, and it's going to be hard to completely explain the whole thing, but the summary is I have the sides, the top, and then the sides are made out of oak here, these two sides, and then there's the front piece which is Lexan, the top is Lexan, and this back two pieces back here are mainly Lexan. There's a piece of wood in the back, and they all have seals where they seal down onto the angle iron, which is the battery hold down, which you've seen in the previous video. I just have it where it all compresses down and it's as sealed as it can be. Now, here's like some small little areas where I made this sliding piece here just to seal where the positive battery cable comes out, and this little pool noodle thing here is just a little bit of better extra. And eventually, once everything's all hooked up, we'll test it and make sure that it doesn't have any leaks, but it's gonna work a lot better than it did. So another big part of this design was to be able to disassemble and assemble it all within this compartment opening, because this is going to be eventually a door for this compartment, and this is going to be a countertop which is not going to be accessible from the top. So everything is, I call it modular with wing nuts, and you can take piece by piece that I designed it out so that you can service the batteries and remove the batteries if you need to. And just to give you an idea, I can disassemble this entire thing, get everything out of the way, and get to the tops of the batteries in probably less than 5 minutes. You can see the seals here are sealed down, and that's mainly because of these wing nuts here, this is the cross piece, which takes the entire hood. Once it's all assembled, it'll just take it all down and compress it. It's definitely better than it was until the entire camper is sealed up, all the windows are in, and we put the vent fan in up here in the main vent. Then we'll do a test where we fill this with either smoke or something like that, and close all the windows, and then turn on that vent fan and see if it draws smoke out of any of the cracks, and then we'll see if there's any cracks that I missed. It's a job done, and we're going to move on to the next project. I want to thank John B. and everybody else from the Sunline Coach Forum and the RV.net forum who gave advice and tips for this project. Let's go to the next project.